Let's do it. Let's do it. Well, welcome. Excited to actually guest host. And I guess I tip my hand that I'm guest hosting in the sense that I didn't elegantly launch into the introduction of today's session. But for those of you that don't know me, my name is Chris Stuart. I'm the president here at PLACE, and I am guest hosting on behalf of Via Williams and Sarita Dua. So for those of you that were here for Via and Sarita, I'm very, very sorry to be here in their place, but I've got an excellent all-star panel of guests from Places World, and I'm going to let these guys introduce themselves. But we've got a great panel, and hopefully an excellent series of content here teed up for everyone in the mortgage space that we're going to talk through. So I'd love to throw it over to the Fulcrum team. If you guys could introduce yourself, and as you're doing that, give us a little bit of an overview of your team, where you are, kind of team size, all of that, just so that the audience gets a feel for that.
Sure. You want to take that, Ty?
Yeah, sure. My name's Ty Voyles. Tom Kavanagh and I started Fulcrum Residential about 12 years ago. We're based in the Washington, D.C. metropolitan region, so we serve the district, Maryland, and Virginia. We have a couple of agents that are now relocated, one in North Carolina and South Carolina, and then one that's in St. Pete, Florida. We've been PLACE partners for just over a year, but just under a year, actually. I guess November 1st last year was our launch date, and it's been a fantastic experience. So we moved the team over. We've been about parallel in our business this year. We really stabilized some things. And then we launched our Envoy partnership just a couple months in and have had fantastic success with that. So we feel right at home and love the trajectory we're on.
Beautiful. Awesome. Thanks, Ty. Anything to add there, Tom?
Give or take, we're a team of 20. I don't think you talked about that size-wise, predominantly out of the DMV, DC metro area. I think you said that.
Yeah, beautiful.
Otherwise, we're good.
Yeah, thanks for that, Tom. I was gonna get that clarification, so thank you for that. All right, I'm gonna throw it over to Mike and Faiyaz to introduce themselves and a little quick overview of their team as well.
Hey guys, my name is Faiyaz Dossaji. This is my business partner, Mike Morrell. We are the co-founders of Dream Team United. We are located, our hub is right outside of Charlotte, North Carolina, in the South Carolina border region. We have 4 other operations with expansion operations throughout the Carolinas, ranging from Greenville, Spartanburg, all the way to Raleigh, Greensboro, and the Asheville area as well. We've been with PLACE now since March 2023, so a little over a year and a half. We've been with Envoy Mortgage since February of 2024. So coming up in just around 8-9 months there. And we've had a fantastic experience with both, growing in both areas quite substantially, and excited to share our perspective with the audience today.
We currently have a team of about 35, including 16 agents and 4 ISAs.
I love it. I love it. Well, thanks, guys, again for being here. We'd love to hear from our audience. Obviously, this is a webinar format, so we don't have the benefit of seeing you. I'd love to hear, obviously, we can see the names of the attendees, but I'd love to, if you could, go into chat. Make sure when you type into chat that blue bubble says to everyone, so everyone can see what you're writing into chat. But we're trying to make today interactive. But I'd love to hear from each of our attendees. Just type in where you're joining us from, city and state. And then if you're not a member of the PLACE network or Envoy Mortgage, just let us know that, so we know kind of, generally if we're talking to some folks outside of the world of PLACE and the world of Envoy Mortgage, we can just make sure that we give some terminology definitions to some of our inside language here. But generally, let me just set up today's session. For those of you outside of PLACE, the world of PLACE is powering top producing real estate teams like the ones here in the panel today. And about 14 months ago, PLACE made an investment in purchasing a nationally licensed direct mortgage lender, Envoy Mortgage. And we've been in the process of integrating Envoy Mortgage with these iconic teams, as the ones here today represent, and and integrating mortgage alongside of their real estate team. So we're going to talk about that. We're going to talk about the experiences of these two great teams and what they did before Envoy and what they're now doing with Envoy. And along the way, if you've got specific questions, throw them into the chat and we'll do our best to respond to that and cover hopefully some really valuable ground together. With that, let me just make sure. And guys, maybe if you guys, the four of you, could look at the chat too, if there's any questions that I might be missing, the five of us together can kind of tag team that. So awesome. Welcome. And again, if you're typing something in the chat, if you could make sure everyone is in that blue bubble so we can all see, that would be awesome. All right. So let's jump right in. I'd love to start. Maybe I'll start with the Fulcrum team. Give us an idea of what your mortgage approach was prior to Envoy. What were you doing? Maybe if you had several iterations, like, hey, we tried this model out, that didn't work, we went over here and did that. But just generally, what were you doing in mortgage prior to Envoy?
Sure, I can start that out. We've had a couple iterations going into mortgage. I think when we're looking at it, we're looking at the loan officer and you're looking at the company, because we started with we had a JV with a previous company, and we went through a couple different loan officers in that process. We did a similar thing in title too, to be honest. It's the company and it's the title processor and stuff like that that's boots on the ground. And we were profitable. We had a really good mortgage company. It was fine. But it just wasn't a really big mortgage company, and it was a brokerage exclusively. And we took a couple of shots at getting a quality loan officer, and we ended up with a solid processor loan officer. He did a good job, but he was not like an originator. He wasn't a full-on loan officer. And the opportunity wasn't big enough to get somebody who was really beefy and really, really good at their job and had a book of business, right? So then we meet you. Frankly, I met you at Built How, Chris, before I was a PLACE partner, and that changed everything, changed my perspective significantly. And we come into Envoy, and it's a bank, and I have a piece of it. Like I've got stock in a company that owns a bank, and I'm an owner of this bank, and you guys treat me that way, right? And then I went to our number one loan officer in our market and said, here's the opportunity, which in talking to him before, he passed on multiple times because it just wasn't even close to big enough. And he goes, this is different. And then Todd gets on the call with you and Jesse, and it's been awesome. So for what we're doing, the key difference is I could attract way better talent because I have a way better company, and it's a bank. It's different. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Did I answer your question?
Yeah, absolutely. And I'm curious, maybe just to kind of poke at that a little bit, was there anything delivery-wise with the prior model? You said you were a brokerage, and now obviously we're a bank here at Envoy. Did that represent marketing limitations, product limitations, process limitations? Was there anything specific in those areas?
Yeah, all of the above. For sure. So, and I didn't understand it going into it. I didn't realize a brokered product keeps us away from some stuff. We didn't have any portfolio products. I don't have any first-time home buyer products. There's things I can't do because we ended up sending everything to Rocket Mortgage, frankly, because they had the best rates. And that was kind of what we did. We also, our loan officer was pretty good he was a very organized person. He was a processor, essentially. So he could turn in a pretty good package. We had a couple of them that were very good like that. So they were clean packages, but they kind of had to be because you're going in the back door of Rocket Mortgage. If you screw it up, you never get it back, right? Where I now have a processor at Envoy with a relationship, and I call and they go, hey, man, I need the thing. And they fix the thing and we keep going. It's just the efficiency of it and the communication is significantly higher.
Yeah.
And Ty, do you see it differently? I'm speaking for you a little bit here, but there's a little, and the marketing piece is a little more on Ty's side too. But sorry to cut you off, Chris.
No, it's good. Go ahead, Ty.
Yeah, I agree. I think that the biggest difference that we've seen is the partnership, right? And Tom talked about that. Rather than having somebody that's external that we're sending clients to, there's somebody that's down the hall that gets to interact with our agents, right? The same way that I interact with them, that Tom interacts with them, that our director of operations or our COO interacts with them, and so the relationship is much deeper, which makes it much easier to answer questions and provide real-time solutions. And a lot of times, those real-time solutions are creativity in finding the right product for that particular buyer, being able to offer, a 2-1 buy down, a 1-0 buy down, being able to look at a recast of a loan, or doing something that takes advantage of very specific home buyer assistance or closing cost grants that we just couldn't do on a national level.
Yeah. Yeah, I love that. That's an important point. And maybe here's another prompt to our audience. If you're a real estate operator in the audience right now, and you're primarily working with brokers, just throw that in the chat for us, just so we can kind of see. If your mortgage lending solution is a broker as opposed to a mortgage banker, throw that into the chat for us, because to Tom's point earlier, Tom's point as well there, a lot of brokers are incapable of working with your local state housing finance authorities, which means you're missing that down payment assistance and bond programs. We'll tell you, we're really excited, very proud actually. 35% of our funded loans here at Envoy Mortgage on a month in, a month out basis are tied to down payment assistance and grant and bond programs. So we're from month to month in many of our markets, as much as 40% of our buyer populations are first-time buyers. So if you're not in many markets, obviously it's different market to market, but if you're not tapping into that portion of your client base, you're just missing a big piece of your potential audience. So those are awesome points, guys. Thanks for making that. All right, let's go over to Faiyaz and Mike, and just kind of same thing. What were you doing prior to your Envoy relationship in mortgage? Kind of what did that journey look like along the way?
Yeah, prior to Envoy, we spent probably 12 or 18 months just exploring different opportunities. We're selling 300 to 350 homes a year, and we're completely missing out on the ownership of mortgage piece. So we talked to Movement Mortgage with the whole mortgage in a box thing. We talked to several different JV companies, and we just never rolled anything out. Just the whole process seemed a bit overwhelming. Finding the time to fully understand it and engage with someone was challenging. So then when we joined PLACE and saw the Envoy opportunity, it was just like the easy button. It was just, hey, we're interested in this. Met with you guys a couple of times. We had a relationship with a great loan officer that we didn't have a partnership with, but it's somebody who's a client who we've used over the years. And we were able to engage with him and bring him in, and it's been fantastic. I guess we started in February, right? So we're 6 or 7 months in, and it's going really great.
I love that. Faiyaz, anything to add in terms of prior mortgage? But because I want to poke on something that Mike just said there.
Yeah, I mean, we just had basic MSAs with lenders. The relationship was more transactional. Not the personalized kind of relationship that I think Ty and Tom were talking about, where you have someone in-house. And what really was also one hurdle for us that was difficult was for those of us who weren't as adept in the mortgage language and the mortgage industry. When you're looking at other JV opportunities, we didn't know what was a good opportunity, what was a bad opportunity. If we were being sold something that would position us in a way that in the future we would regret. However, when we joined PLACE and this opportunity was presented to us, all those any cynicism towards that went away, because we are partners with our PLACE partners, right? So it's like we all have a vested interest in growing this together. So there's a much more trust value there for us, and it was much easier for us to execute and implement.
Yeah.
Can I speak to that really quick?
Yeah, you bet.
I'm sorry to cut you off, Chris, but I think a key differentiator, and I think it goes along with what we're saying, is we were out generating business. We would have a marketing agreement with somebody. It's fine, getting a couple grand to pay our Halloween party or whatever. And then we started generating deals, creating a legit agreement and getting paid when we're feeding the entity. But that's what we were doing. Fulcrum was feeding this entity, and we would make money, and it was great. Now our partnership feeds in. Todd generates into the business as much or more than we generate in the business. Like our loan officer is bringing in business and we're bringing in business. We're in it together and you guys are bringing in business. Like PLACE, Envoy, Fulcrum, Todd Petey, we're in it together. And that was not the way it was before. We would feed it and get paid for our own business, eat what we kill. It's a partnership now.
Yeah. Yeah. I love that. That's awesome. Maybe we can, kind of elaborate more on that, because I think that's a key to success of what we're trying to do here too. But I want to go back to Mike's comment about the easy button. And here's really what I want to do for anyone in the audience that is, inspired, that they've been, they want to get going with mortgage. Maybe they've had some starts and stops with it in the past. I'd love to hear in you guys' own words, what was the actual process and timeline from getting a loan officer committed to joining us here at Envoy and that journey to actual production, and we're, generating revenue together? Whatever it is, the good, the bad, and the ugly. But I want the audience to walk away from, hey, yeah, there's some obstacles and things like that, but I think people would be shocked and understand, what it actually looks like, that easy button. So Mike, I'll throw it back to you because you kind of started this topic.
Yeah, as far as timeline, we started in February, and in March we had our first profitable month. Envoy Dream Team United partnership was profitable in April, and by July, so 5 months later, we had made about $95,000 in mortgage with our partnership.
Yeah, I remember we had my first conversation with Stu and Jesse was like December-ish of 2023. And we immediately, like at that conversation, I remember we already had a candidate in mind.
I remember that, yeah.
And after the conversation, I already did an email introduction. So that was December. The conversations between that loan officer and Envoy were ongoing for about a month, and then we launched in February. So January was just the due diligence between the LO and Envoy, just to make sure that the partnership and the alignment was there. That, Envoy was handling all the behind the scenes hiring process, handling the vetting, handling the processes. And we'd already obviously discussed pro formas and things like that, which we were anticipating. And then February was the launch once everything was in order.
Yeah, I love it. Ty and Tom, what about you guys? Just that whole timeline.
Yeah, man, I thought we were moving fast. I'm a little jealous now, Faiyaz. Like you and Mike, cranked it.
We're close.
We're close. Yeah. So our process was really similar. We had been talking to PLACE for a long time. I've known Ben, I've known Chris for a long time. And like Tom said, he got to meet you, Stu. And so we started working together and having these conversations in the middle of last year, really kind of digging in about what it would look like. But we didn't make the commitment to PLACE until October and launched in November. And at that point, we started talking with our LO. And we were able to land the LO who said, great, let me get through the end of the year. Actually, let me get through the first quarter. Let's move in March. And based on the energy in those conversations, the opportunity that immediately presented itself, we accelerated that timeline and brought him over by the end of the year. So by the end of 2023, we had gone from, it's going to take 4 months to transition, to doing this in basically 45 days from conversation to close to stand up. So we launched January 1st. We turned our first profitable month in March, and we're significant 5-figure profit, ran profitable April, May, June, July, August. We had a little bit of a blip in September, but we had fully funded reserves within 3 or 4 months. We were profitable as a business within the first 3 months, and we'll distribute significant profit by the end of the year.
Yeah,
it's been an amazingly quick acceleration, and I think that does come back to Tom's point about this is a partnership. We're not getting 100% of the mortgage business from our team. That's actually one of our goals, is to increase the incorporation and the capture that our agents can provide to really take advantage of that benefit. but it's a testament to the loan officer that we have in place, because he's going out and he's feeding this partnership the same way that we are. And it's the same way you want to run your real estate team, right? Like when we bring agents into our team, we don't want people that are just going to service the business we provide them. We want hungry, humble hunters that are going to go out and they're going to bring business in as well, right? That we're going to work together, that we're all going to be in the boat within a war.
Yeah, I love that. That's great, guys. Thanks for sharing that. And if there's any questions, or maybe in the audience, maybe specific, gotchas as you tried to launch other mortgage partnerships, throw that in the chat. We're happy to respond to that with our own experiences here. Otherwise, I'd like to shift the discussion now to how you found success in presenting this commitment to Envoy and mortgage as a strategic part of your business plan to your team, to your agents, to your staff, and just like what that has looked like and how it might have been different now than how you approached rolling out mortgage and some of your other, experiences prior to Envoy. So I'll throw it back to Dream Team and then we'll go to Fulcrum. Guys?
Yeah, one of the successes for us was that Chris Maloney, who's our loan officer, although he wasn't officially like a preferred LO, he was a known entity to the team. He's a past client of ours. And, we'd done a few deals together with him. And so from a personality standpoint, he was liked. That helps. He was known. And then we presented him to the team, and it was really very much of an open forum. And in our world, some of our veteran agents have seen iterations of this, and they're probably the most cynical and have had a lot of questions. And Chris, with his knowledge, with his personality, with his demeanor, just knocked it out of the park. And I remember after that meeting, our agents were like, wow, this is completely different than what we've experienced in the past. And Chris comes from a very humble servant type of attitude, where he's really interested in helping our individual agents grow their individual businesses. And it's not necessarily just about, hey, let's bring in all the mortgages so I can make a lot of money. He sits 5 feet away from everyone. He is very education oriented. He wants to help people learn about not only the products, but the services that he provides. Also, with Chris being integrated into Brivity and all being, kind of belly to belly with our agents in the lead generation and the lead follow-up process. I mean, if I'm an agent, who doesn't want another co-pilot with me, sitting right there with me to try to convert more leads so I can make more money? So, sorry.
Yeah, no, I'd say in addition, Faiyaz mentioned he's 5 feet away from us. I don't know if anybody else has this challenge, but it's sometimes difficult for us to encourage our agents to come in and do the lead gen. And Chris is in here, first one in the office every day, last one out of the office every day, smiling and dialing, answering whatever questions our agents have. He's just fully, completely integrated into our team. We did a team advance a couple of weeks ago, and he was there. He's there with us as we went away for a couple of days for education and just to spend some time together. And he's just one of us at this point, which I think is key. Whereas before, it was a loan officer that would come around to an event once in a while. He'd come buy some drinks somewhere. If there was a problem, he would get involved personally. But that's the biggest difference I think we're seeing.
Yeah, I love that. That's great. So Fulcrum team, how have you guys kind of changed or thought through the positioning of this partnership with your agents and the value that shows up for them?
I mean, it's cool to think about what Mike just said, and I think it speaks to that partnership, right? For us, mortgage has always been a bolt-on piece, but the fact that Envoy is an entity that lives inside of the PLACE world, right? And when Envoy wins, PLACE wins, and when PLACE wins, Envoy wins, it changes the dynamic. That's been a huge thing for us.
I think what you guys just said was spot on. Man, we've experienced that at a really high level. For the most part, Fulcrum is not a ISA, we generate the business and send it out to you and you close it team. We teach our agents to hit the phones and lead generate and work your sphere and stuff like that, right? So I can't really control at a high level who they use for mortgage, title, insurance, and so on. They've earned the right. They call their mother, she wants to buy a house. They should use the best person for her mother, right? What I could do is get them all to give them a shot before, like, hey, just try the mortgage guy once. If you like it, great. If not, that's okay too. And they would. They'd throw tie and eye bone and try them, and it would be a little sticky. But now it's like we talked about, like Todd is upstairs. Todd just texted me on the side and said, you may want to mute because Todd's kind of loud. Todd's our loan officer down upstairs. Like literally, Ty's upstairs going, I can hear him in your ears, right? So like we lead generate together every day. He earns the right every day. Like he's dishing business to our agents, right? It's not like it's not bolt on. It is part of the deal. Envoy Mortgage is in my CRM. I can hit a button, connect my client to Todd in real time. And then every few days, he gives me an update as the conversations they've had. Like our tech is ingrained with Envoy at a really high level. And then we can capture really quality people to come and work with us and earn the rights. Our agents bring them the deal because it's going to go right. I can't make them do anything. I can just find the right guy that comes in and wins the day. And he's doing that at a really high level. Our entities are very similar because you guys have the exact same dynamics as far as I can tell.
Yeah, that's excellent. And so I'm just curious, if I were to play this out to the next kind of leg in the race, which is, and I'll go back to the dream team for this first, is how are agents on your team relaying the Envoy Mortgage value proposition and Chris and his professionalism and experience to your prospective clients, to the buyers? Like, how does that sound and how has that evolved over time as we've had more and more success together?
Yeah, we've actually, I mean, this happened today. One of our listing agent held a broker open, and we had more people attracted to that because we were promoting the buy before you sell program, because they don't have that option here in the market. They don't have ribbon and all those other options. And so we've got not only clients who are interested, and we've been able to convert them at a higher level. We've got agents who are like, I'm looking for products that I can't find with other lenders. So it's been very interesting. We talk more about lending products now due to our relationship with Envoy than we ever did with any other lender. And part of it is because, number one, we have vested interest, but more importantly, the products are really freaking good. You know?
And we understand them.
And we understand them, yeah. And we have a LO who is willing and able to simplify complex concepts to our clients and get them converted.
Yeah, I love that. And just a shout out on this general topic to one of our awesome teammates here, Scott Goodnight, who runs a PLACE team in Denver, Colorado. In the last 6 months, they've closed 48 pieces of real estate business, both buyer and seller sides, and funded 78 mortgages in that same time frame. So it speaks to this idea that, you know, if we can, and what prompted that shout out to Scott is, Faiyaz, your comment about we're promoting mortgage, we're promoting financing. And if Scott was here, he would say the culture on my team with my agents is we're a mortgage company that sells real estate. And the idea is, you know, 70, 80% of our deals depend on mortgage to happen. So if the more we can all be aware of mortgage, pushing mortgage, be intelligent about it, and our agents as well, we're going to naturally find more opportunities and serve more customers. So I love that. Back to the Fulcrum team, just how does that message get relayed from your agents to your prospective buyers about the Envoy value proposition? And Todd?
I mean, look, value in general in the world of real estate right now is probably the most questioned thing there is. Right. So whether you're a buyer, whether you're a seller, it doesn't really matter, but value is the central question. And so for us, it's been wonderful to be able especially when we go out and we compete for listings in an environment where sellers aren't able to sell their house with a sign in the yard and a snap of their fingers, right? We as agents need to work a little bit more. We need to offer a little bit more to have that value proposition that comes in and says, well, hey, Stu, we also have a loan officer that's tied into our team that can provide additional services, additional products that other buyers may not have. It gives us an advantage to go sit down at that table. And so it's really neat to be able to take the loan side of the business and put it in our listing presentation, put it into seller conversion conversations. Whereas historically for us, it's only been a buy side thing, right? And, you know, most agents, most buyers will come in and they'll say, hey, well, I need to talk to 2 or 3 people, 3 or 4 people. I want to compare what's out there to see who has the best rate and see who has the best products. We now know going in, hey, we have the best service. We have the best, if not some of the best, if not the best products. And our timeline is going to be absolutely incredible. Like, this thing is rock solid. So when we talk about adding value, it's become the easiest piece of the equation for us.
Yeah.
Ty, just to add on real quick, I mean, you know, recently, like, for example, we've had our open house challenges and stuff like that. You know, we've had potential clients walk in. Some of them already had a real estate agent, but we were able to talk to them about, again, rate buy down programs or buy before you sell programs. While we weren't able to convert those clients to be our buyers because they already had an agent, their agent had never talked to them about potential innovative financing options. So now we just converted a buyer that isn't going to buy a house, but they're going to get a mortgage through us. So at least we're converting some type of business because we're talking the language of mortgages much more freely, openly, and transparently.
And it also gives you the ability, I love that, Faiyaz, because it gives you the ability to have that buyer that walks in, and sometimes the buyer will walk in and say, I've got an agent, and that's their defense shield to not be sold, right? But when you can speak a little bit more intelligently, when you can deliver more value and they see an opportunity that wasn't presented anywhere else, it opens up that barrier a little bit. And maybe they didn't have an agent, or maybe they had somebody they thought they were going to work with, but now they really want to work with you. It does open a lot of doors that way.
100%.
And I'd love to talk about growth in the mortgage, you know, with your mortgage visions, guys, is that, you know, you kind of feel like we're kind of mortgage 1.0, which is to stand up an excellent loan officer integrated with the team. We're getting some results. How do you guys think about growing mortgage as like a key part of your business and opportunities to take your loan officers and go into, you know, other real estate teams, other offices? Can you just speak to that vision and some of the things that you're doing right now to capitalize on that? Whoever wants to start.
I can start with that. Well, to go back to the previous question, just to start there, part of that is for anybody that's on this call right now who's selling a bunch of real estate, we have quality mortgage officers. We've had loan officers that we've used in the past, regardless of who they are. We need to have these conversations, be able to have those conversations at a high level that Mike and Faiyaz are having, regardless if they're in our team or not. I've learned a ton about mortgage because I've gone through this process. I didn't understand the profitability of mortgage until I actually got to see the back end, and I really didn't understand how mortgage loan officers got paid a lot of times, right? There's as much money in mortgage as there is in real estate. Just anybody on this call know that. If you don't get the deal, but you get the mortgage deal, you're doing great, right? Trust me, you want both. But there's a ton of money in mortgage. It's spectacular. So, and what was your question again? Sorry, what was the question?
Well, I was talking about this idea, and you hit on it earlier.
Oh, how do we grow it? How do we grow it?
And Todd's already doing some of those things.
Yeah.
But just kind of speak to that, because for many of the people in the audience, they might say, oh man, well, geez, maybe I do 4 or 5 deals a month because I got this little real estate business. But I know you guys both are thinking bigger than that.
100%. So our entity here in the DMV, DC metro area, I mean, we can blow that up significantly, right? We have also hired 2 loan officers that are in North Carolina, down in Florida as well, that are working with Todd. Todd is managing those loan officers that are servicing our entity and other PLACE entities, and they're out drumming up business on their own. So what we have is we have a quality loan officer who could manage other loan officers. And Stu and Jesse basically assessed it. And they're like, this guy could do a ton. This guy could run the region, that kind of thing. So for us, there's no cap on growth. There's as much real estate in the world as there is being sold. There's tons of it. In our markets, there's plenty of opportunity. We just need to find that opportunity and find quality loan officers that can tap it as well. It's kind of like agent count on your team. You want quality agents. There's no shortage of real estate to sell. You just need quality people to come in and teach them how to do the deal, and they grow from there. We see it the same way in mortgage.
Yeah. And are you opening any of those doors specifically with other, realtors or realtor teams that you guys network with, or, how specifically, is it just like opportunistic as it comes along, or is there anything proactive, intentional about the growth and where you guys are looking to go?
It's a really good recruiting call for one. Proactive around the growth, depending on the market we're in, we can focus on a market and go get it. But for me, I make most of the calls when recruiting on our team. Talking to somebody that's selling 100 houses a year, even 70 houses a year, that it just got a mortgage JV and they're getting $2,000 for their bar tab. That's a real easy call. You're like, well, what are you doing a mortgage? Well, I got this deal with blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, man, maybe we should have coffee. And then I can just show them our P&L. I can walk through what they're doing. I'm like, well, I'm not doing that. And then we have guys that are going, well, I want to make $50,000 a month, $100,000 a month. And that is totally doable. We're not there yet, but there's a path to that simply. And there's no chance you're getting a JV like that. It's really good for recruiting calls. I don't know if I'm answering your question, but for me, there's a really good hook there.
Yeah, no, I love it. I love it. I think the takeaway here is that the first journey is mobilizing it for the real estate team. But once you get that and that kind of it's all systematized, then, growth beyond it is almost unlimited. But to the Dream team, what are you guys doing in terms of growth already, and how do you think about that moving forward?
Yeah, I think one of the biggest opportunities that we have going forward that we're not implementing yet are just on refis and HELOCs. I think that, Chris, you shared a stat last month that something like the total mortgage business, what was it, 60% of it was refi business?
Yeah, well, probably now, but Q2 it was 40%. Q2, yeah, there were 3 out of 8 mortgages were refinances in Q2 of this year.
So right now, I know that we're getting more calls about HELOCs and refis than we have in the last 18 months.
Yeah.
And we're doing some of them. We have a database of like 70,000 people. I just think the opportunity there is immense if we start making those calls and having the conversations about refis and HELOCs.
Yeah, absolutely. That's a big piece. On that topic, are either of the two teams here, are any of you helping your agents with scripts to your sphere of influence and past clients as those calls are being made around mortgage and refi? Is that a thing yet for any of you guys?
It should be.
Scripting. Sorry. Yeah, I was going to say it's not for us right now in the scripting. What it is, though, I think is more in providing an offering from the real estate team for a service that we don't personally provide. There's something about making that offer that's a little bit genuine, maybe isn't the right word, but it's a little bit easier to say, hey, Stu, I'm not calling to sell you a piece of real estate. What I'm calling to do is just provide you a service that if you want to lower your interest rate, if you want to lower your monthly payment, like I've got this option over here. You can go check the box. You can go press the button. And so automating that is more of where we're focused as opposed to the actual agent script. And I think that for us is the next step. And the reason that I get excited about that is talking to Todd when we're standing this JV up together. He's like, you realize we're building a mortgage company in the worst possible time to build a mortgage company. And it's like, yeah, dude, if we can do it now, and if we can have black numbers at the bottom of the P&L now, think about what it's going to be like when rates are in the low 5s, because they're going to get there, right? Like that's when the printing press starts. It was really easy to run a mortgage company 3 years ago. It's really hard now. And if you can win now, man, it's going to be downhill coasting when rates get them to where we expect them to be. The other piece of that in growth is that somebody might buy a house once and own it for 13, 15, 20 years, but they're probably going to refinance that house a couple of times or take a HELOC on that property, a couple of times in that period. So the ability to transact on a single entity, a single property, is much higher in mortgage than it is in real estate.
Yeah.
Chris, we actually we have a farm, here, a neighborhood that we farm quite often, and our first farming activity just happened again this past month, and it was postcards about refi and cash outs, and we had never ever done that with another lender before. And already we had a call in on the first go around. So this is going to take some consistency. It's going to take some education, but we're leveraging this on the social media side, on the farming side, having our agents talk about it a lot more, because it is a topic that is coming from contribution. There is no client that will not love you forever if you do not pick up the phone and call them and say, "Hey, I might have an opportunity to save you a couple $100 a month." That is a value proposition that is coming from contribution all day long, and we want to create a stickiness to our clients for a long time.
I love that. That's awesome. And Faiyaz, I know you guys have leveraged this mortgage partnership with Envoy in terms of how you're adding value to some of your other real estate contacts, maybe builders, anything in that vein from a growth standpoint, and how you think about Envoy's growth for you guys.
Yeah, I mean, listen, we're actively in conversations and trying to open those doors for other people. We have talked to other market centers. We've talked to other brokerages. We've talked to other teams. Not all of them are affiliated with PLACE, and that's totally fine. The thing is, the more we can build out this ecosystem, the more it not only benefits us, but it benefits the consumer as well. So we are proselytizing, about the benefits of Envoy, and seeing like which people are wanting to partner with that. And we've actually had some good success with that. So this whole JV concept is much more simplistic than I think other people have been used to in the past. And it's opening up their ears to that.
Yeah, I love that. So kind of rounding out the call here, just in terms of time, and we can open it up for questions from the audience if there are any. Again, just throw them in the chat if you've got any questions or things you want us to cover, topics. But I'd love to just kind of shift into results. Just talk, and maybe go to Fulcrum first. Is just talk about the results that have shown up for you. Could be economic results or recruiting results or agent retention, whatever it is that's key to you in terms of the results that have showed up so far in the first few months of us doing this together. To the Fulcrum team first.
Yeah, I mean, I think the two simple things that I see for us are 6 figures at the bottom of a P&L within the first year of launching a business, which is huge, right? Like that's a great goal for us that we're going to achieve this year. And the second is agent adoption. Like we're seeing more agents participate in this round, in this Envoy partnership, than we have in anything else that we've done with an affiliated business. And it's been a much easier on-ramp too, because of the relationship, because of the quality of the relationship, and because of the people involved.
I love that. That's awesome. That's awesome. Tom, anything to add to that in terms of results?
No, I think Ty said it really, really well. And it helps that our loan officer's here. Like he's with us. We're doing our retreat next week. He's coming to our retreat to business plan with us for the next year, that kind of thing. That's really important.
Yeah. I love it. Dream team?
So far, we've had about 54 closed deals for the year. We're at the 6-figure profitability bottom line. I mean, that is absolute proof that the concept is working. Obviously next year we're looking to integrate more of it, not only here within our team. That's the bottom line. Capturing more business from the team, priority number one. and then expanding that net to try to attract more outside business. But we are looking to continue to grow that at a really high level.
I love it.
I tag on just we have a whole lot more confidence in our agents' ability to have an intelligent conversation about mortgage. A bit of an intangible, but I just feel like we can better serve our clients when we understand some of the programs, we understand some of the opportunities, and we just do a better job of serving our people.
Yeah, such a great point. Yeah. And Ty mentioned it earlier, but the elephant in the industry, I guess, is value. What does our value look like? How do we present it? How do we, how does it look moving forward? And I think that's exactly right. Like creating more well-rounded real estate advisors in all of our businesses and all that comes along with that. Just it's important for the homeowner. And so that's an important takeaway for sure. So I guess let's just wrap it up, guys. I don't see any questions from the audience, but maybe any words of encouragement for your peers that are on the call today, just about limiting beliefs or getting started or anything like that. Any kind of like final words of encouragement for our audience. Anyone can take that if you've got anything top of mind.
I would say if you've thought about this prospect, you should certainly reach out to Chris Stuart and Jesse, and just explore it. I would also say for those who are working with incumbent lenders who are hesitant to explore the opportunity, that might be a potential red flag there. Because I think we need to all explore what our options are. We had very transparent, open conversations with our lenders, and we wanted to bring them on board. It wasn't necessarily the right fit for them, but it certainly was for somebody else who has changed our world. So when one door might close there, don't be afraid for that next door to open for you.
Yeah, that's so powerful. Yeah, that's so powerful.
Yeah, I can't echo that enough. I mean, there's no harm in, there's no downside to exploring any opportunity, right? Like you've always got the ability to say no. You've always got the ability to assess it and see if it's the right thing or not the right time. But I think you'd be surprised at what you find, especially if you're running a team that's closing a good amount of business and feeding one or two particular lenders. There's a really big opportunity to partner there and to grow it together, as opposed to just feeding a business that's outside of yours.
Yeah. Well said.
And piggybacking off of that, you also don't need to have a huge team that's doing a ton of business to do this. You can get pretty profitable in mortgage, and Chris and Stu are pretty good about, Chris and Jesse are pretty good about connecting you maybe to another P&L, to another entity, and combining you with somebody until you're big enough to hold on your own. So don't think you got to be some awesome, 300 transaction a year plus team to have a conversation with Stu. You should have it sooner rather than later.
Yeah, Tom, we're actually doing that with several people here locally in the Carolinas and trying to help them build it up to a certain level. So you're absolutely spot on with that. And it's been working great.
Yeah, and they could attach to like an entity like ours until they earn the right to have their own, and get income and be part of a quality loan officer that couldn't work for them on their own. They're not big enough, but with together they could get that kind of quality service. So it's really valuable.
Well, awesome. Thank you guys very much for taking the time to be with us today and sharing all of your experiences and successes. Appreciate you guys very much. And with that, we'll wrap it up. All right. Thanks, everyone. Have a great rest of your week.